YouTube, my name is Mesa Sean, and we are back here on The Division 2. Alright folks, in this video, we're going to discuss the endgame of The Division 2. Is it any good? Why even continue to play? What's next? And I also kind of want to re-review the game, as I did an initial impressions video of the game, but now that we're in World Tier 5, we are in Endgame, we're getting ready for the raid, I want to cover a number of things before we discuss the endgame. If you enjoy this video, hit that like button and subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Also, let me know in the comment section, do you want me to make more Division 2 videos? I will certainly make them if you want them. In terms of re-reviewing the game, I have about 3 days or almost 4 days played on my main account, which is PlayStation 4. I also have an Xbox account, which I put another day in about. And I'm going to say this is probably the best game we've had launched in the last couple of years. And when I mean that, I mean in terms of not having any issues right out the gate, the game is really good. It's not like when the Division 1 launched and there was a ton of issues. You could tell they definitely learned their lesson. The loot is good. There is a million things to do. They focused more on the open world with this game, as I discussed in my initial impressions video. You know, when you hit endgame in the Division 1, okay, it was all about chasing your gear score, but what are you going to use that gear score for? Well, you're going to go use it in the dark zone. You're going to do the incursions. Well, there's a gazillion things to do, and we're going to talk about some of those things in this video. So, you do the story, you get your character to level 30, and then once you hit level 30, then the real fun begins because you are technically in endgame, and that endgame is quite extensive. Next, you will choose from 3 different specialists. We have survivalist, demolitionist, and you have sharpshooter. Now, the demolitionist is my favorite because of the fact that one of the bonuses is major LMG damage. And if you notice from most of my clips, I am constantly using a light machine gun and constantly looking and farming for light machine guns. And when I find a good one, I'll take other light machine guns and use the recalibration station, which I'll talk about in a second, to transfer some talents over to my main light machine gun that I enjoy. But anyway, here's my demolitionist all filled out, so I'm done with this one, and now I can start working on the others, and by doing daily and weekly activities, I will get specialist points to upgrade these various nodes. Once you complete enemy strongholds, you will enter the world tier system, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Right now my character is in tier 5, and your whole map will look more like my southwest corner, where everything will be red. Mine is not showing really red right now because I'm cleaning stuff out across my map, but you'll see everything has been taken over by an enemy faction, and there's a lot more things to do. The enemy faction is called the Black Tusk, and they've got some unique abilities, and they change things up, and they could be pretty aggressive. So when you get to World Tier 1 and you start progressing through, you need to do the strongholds over again. However, to get into those strongholds, well, you need to do a number of things. You need to do some invaded missions, but more importantly, you need to get your gear score up. Those strongholds will not unlock unless your gear score is at a certain level and you've completed the associated invaded mission. Once you are in endgame, every piece of loot that you get, be it armor or weapons, will have a gear score. Now, your total gear score is the average of everything that you're equipping at that particular time. Typically, the higher the gear score, the better the weapon or item it is, but that's not necessarily the case. You might have an item or a piece of loot or a piece of armor, let's say, that's a little bit lower in gear score, but it has better stats. So for a particular fight, you might want to put that on. However, don't worry, as you're playing the game knows what your highest gear score can be and will drop loot according to that. When looking at my armor, the yellow ones are called high ends and those green ones are called set pieces. Now, as of Friday, when we got World Tier 5 and we also got the title based in Stronghold, now we can get gear sets. When you put on the gear sets, it's just like the Division 1. When you put on 2 pieces, you get a special bonus. When you put on 3 pieces, you get another special bonus, including the first one. Same thing with 4, 5, and 6. However, to maximize the bonuses from all of the gear sets, you need to be wearing at one time 6 pieces of a particular gear set. So far, I only have a few pieces of 2 gear sets, Ongoing Directive and True Patriot. And I gotta be frank, I'm not very impressed with the bonuses on them or the max bonuses if you get 6 pieces. However, I need to test them out when I get 6 pieces. Now, you will have weekly activities that you can do that will guarantee you a gear set piece. However, it's not a guarantee whether it's going to be a particular gear set. Also, I believe the gear set pieces can drop out and about in the wild. It hasn't happened for me, but it did happen to one of my friends. So you're getting your gear score up, you're doing your stronghold, you're doing your different activities. You also have control points, and these are a lot of fun and can be very, very challenging depending on the level. Here, if we look at Washington Monument, we see 01 next to it. If you do the activities in the surrounding areas of a control point, that control point will go from 01 to 02 to 03 to 04, etc. The higher the level of that control point that you take over, the rewards are better. Once you take over that control point, it becomes a friendly control point. It'll be marked green on the map, you can spawn there, and then also you will have a friendly that you can resupply with materials, whether it's water, components, things like that. To make a control point level 2, 3, 4, those side activities can involve anything red that's on the map that's on the side of that control point. Could be a hostage execution, could be a enemy convoy, could be a propaganda broadcast. But as you complete activities surrounding that control point, it will go up from level 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. Level 3 and 4 control points are really, really difficult. Do not try to do them by yourself. You want to do that with a team or try to matchmake and get some folks to do it. And let me just touch on matchmaking for a second. Matchmaking is pretty good if you're in World Tier 5 or you're burning through the story and trying to get to level 30. And that's because most of the players are usually in one of those 2 buckets right there. But sometimes you might just want to do things by yourself or with one other person. I find this game does scale. We find it's way easier to do challenging activities when it's just 2 people. And I mean challenging activities, we mean picking a stronghold or invaded mission and setting it to, well, not heroic. We haven't tried heroic just yet, but setting it to hard or challenging. We'll usually go challenging. And if we do it with 2 players, it's definitely easier, less enemies, they tend to die a bit faster when it's only 1 to 2 players. There is a bit of a cheese you can do if you're just starting off and you get into your World Tier 1 and you want to get high gear score items. So let's say you have some friends that are like 450 to 470. They're in World Tier 5, you're in World Tier 1. Well, you have them come onto your world tier and you play the game. You do the stronghold, you do the invaded missions, and so forth. Well, they have gear sharing in the game. So when the 450 or 470 gets armor or weapon drops, well, they can share them, give them to you, and boom, your gear score will go up really, really quickly. That's kind of what I did to get the World Tier 5 really quickly. As I'm playing through the weekly activities, or if I've completed the weekly activities, I take over control points. I then go to the patrol officer, I give him a bunch of resources, and I go farm for materials, because we're going to use that to craft stuff. When you load them up with resources, you can see all of the highlighted loot boxes all over the map. And yes, I know the solar farm is the best way to farm for these materials. However, I like going into the sewer tunnels in the southwest part of the map. It's a lot of fun, it's eerie, it's creepy down there, and sometimes you do run into enemies. But yeah, there's boxes everywhere, and you can find some pretty good loot down there. The Dark Zone is another endgame activity that you can have some fun with, and there's a new type of Dark Zone called the Occupied Dark Zone. That's not this in the background here. This is the regular Dark Zone. So there's 3 Dark Zone areas. There's the west, east, and south, and it rotates every day which one will be the occupied. Now, in Occupied, supposedly the rewards are better. The enemies feel like they're more difficult, but when it comes to PvPing, anything goes. If you see an agent, you just shoot at them, and it is on. There's no going rogue or anything like that. You see an agent, and I believe stats are not normalized in the Occupied Dark Zones. If you're solo, and if you're in a team of 2, I'd stay away from the Occupied Dark Zone. And I went in there a few times by myself, got some loot, but I did not see the loot being really any better than I got from the regular Dark Zones. When you're clearing Dark Zones in the Division 2, sometimes the loot that will drop will just be items you can just pick up and it's yours. You do not have to actually extract it. It's not contaminated. I think that's a little bit on the lame side, because I feel like everything that comes out of the Dark Zone should be contaminated and should require an extraction. But a lot of times when you clear a landmark or you open up a supply drop or a chest, you could just grab it and it goes right into your inventory. I love the crafting system in the Division 2. It is so much easier than the Division 1. In the Division 1, you would craft, or you would get a magazine, or let's say muzzle, and then it would list what weapons it would fit. So let's say you have 3 weapons that a particular magazine would fit. In the Division 1, you would put it on a weapon that you're using, and then if you want to put it on another one, well, you'd get a prompt on screen. Do you want to remove it from this weapon and put it on the other weapon? There's none of that in the Division 2. You craft a magazine, and let's say you have 3 weapons that it will fit. You could just go onto that weapon and put that magazine on all 3 weapons and not have to worry about mixing and matching things. It's really simple. When you're going from World Tier 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, you want to upgrade your crafting bench each time. Now, you could craft higher gear score items like armor or weapons, but you might want to hold off on that until you get to World Tier 5, because you really want to save those materials, because you will run out of them fairly quickly if you start going craft crazy when it comes to armor or weapons. The attachments, yeah, I'd craft as many as you can early on. Recalibration is another really fun activity. So let's say you're a light machine gun fanatic like myself. What you can do is you could transfer talents from another light machine gun that you do not like onto the light machine gun that you like. So here I've got this light machine gun. I like most of the talents, but I've got a few other light machine guns that I do not like. But I could take a talent off one of them, deconstruct that light machine gun, and throw it onto my main light machine gun. So don't break down all of your weapons. Take a look and see what talents they have. Because let's say you're an assault rifle fan, and you've got an assault rifle that you like. Well, take a look at the other assault rifles you have, because you might be able to transfer some of those talents onto your main assault rifle that you really like, making that perfect weapon for you. Just like when you were grinding from level 1 to 30, well, you still have projects to do, and those projects will have rewards, they'll have XP, and you want to grind XP still, because you will get these proficiency caches, and those will have usually much higher gear score items when they drop, and sometimes they can even give you a bonus item from opening up one of those caches. Another really fun endgame activity you can do is bounties. There's a vendor right next to the projects vendor, and you collect target intel by doing activities within the game. Then you can go to the bounties vendor and then choose a bounty, and then you will get rewards. And these bounties are varying in difficulty, they're all over the place, and they're a lot of fun. Also within the end game, there's a number of exotic weapons, and some of them I believe they can just drop, and then some of them you can build by getting the pieces. You can get these hyenas keys and then find the parts and then put them together, and then you've got yourself an exotic submachine gun. I'm working on that myself right now. But overall, guys, the end game is a blast, and I'm enjoying it and having a lot of fun. Let me know in the comment section if you've been playing this. What do you think of the end game so far? That is going to do it for this video, guys. Leave me a good old hashtag made it to the end if you did make it to the end. If you'd like to further support this channel and become a channel member, a link will be in the top of the description. And that's it, guys. Do me a favor. Drop a like in this video only if you see fit. Follow me on Twitter at Mesa Sean. Check out my stream, usually and always on YouTube. And that's it. I am out of here like Vladimir.